Could you imagine conquering the entire known world before you even turned 30? Picture leading your army across 22,000 miles, never losing a single battle, and forging an empire that stretched from Greece all the way to India. Imagine being so legendary that 2,300 years later, we're still studying your strategies and marveling at how one person could achieve the impossible. This wasn't a myth. This was Alexander the Great. His story is so packed with triumph and adventure, it almost sounds like fiction. Born in 356 BCE in Macedon, Alexander would become the most successful military commander in history. He didn't just win battles, he toppled the Persian Empire, the superpower of its day. He founded over 20 cities, spreading Greek culture across 3 continents and changing the course of humanity forever. By 25, he ruled more land than most kings did in their entire lifetimes. By 30, his empire covered over 2 million square miles. And then, at just 32, his story came to an abrupt end. This is the incredible tale of the warrior king who became a legend. Alexander's story begins with 2 extraordinary parents. His father, Philip II of Macedon, was a military genius who transformed his kingdom into a powerhouse. His mother, the fierce and ambitious Princess Olympias, told young Alexander he was descended from the legendary heroes Achilles and Heracles. She planted the seeds of greatness in his mind, and from a young age, Alexander believed he was destined for legendary deeds. And he showed it. At just 10 years old, he famously tamed the wild stallion Bucephalus, a horse no one else could ride, simply by noticing it was afraid of its own shadow. His father, amazed, told him, "My son, seek a kingdom worthy of your abilities, for Macedon is too small for you." That horse would carry him through countless battles for the next 20 years. At 13, Alexander was tutored by the greatest mind of the age, Aristotle. The philosopher instilled in him a love for knowledge and a fascination with Homer's Iliad. Alexander saw himself as a modern-day Achilles, a warrior destined for glory. He wasn't just a scholar, though. By 18, he was commanding his father's cavalry, proving his courage and tactical skill on the battlefield. But his relationship with his father was rocky. After a public argument, Alexander and his mother even fled into exile. They eventually reconciled, but in 336 BCE, everything changed. Philip was assassinated. Suddenly, at just 20 years old, Alexander was king. His kingdom was on the verge of chaos. Rebellions flared up in Greece, rivals challenged his claim to the throne, and barbarian tribes threatened his borders. Many thought this young, untested king would fail. They were disastrously wrong. Alexander moved with breathtaking speed. He marched his army south so quickly that the rebellious Greek cities surrendered without a fight. When the city of Thebes defied him, he made a brutal example of it. The message was clear: submit and prosper, or resist and be destroyed. Greece fell in line. With his homeland secure, Alexander set his sights on the ultimate prize, the Persian Empire. It was a colossus, stretching from Egypt to India, with immense wealth and vast armies. His father had dreamed of this conquest. Alexander would make it a reality. In 334 BCE, at 22 years old, he crossed into Asia with a relatively small but elite army. At the Battle of the Granicus River, his generals advised caution. Alexander ignored them, leading a reckless charge straight across the river and up the bank. It was audacious, but it worked. He fought in the heart of the battle, his helmet getting split by an axe, and secured a stunning victory. Asia Minor was now open to him. As he marched on, he came across the famous Gordian Knot. A prophecy said whoever could untie the impossibly complex knot would rule all of Asia. Alexander studied it for a moment, then drew his sword and sliced it in half. "It makes no difference how the knot is loosened," he reportedly said. A bold solution to an impossible problem. That was Alexander. In 333 BCE, he faced the Persian King Darius III himself at the Battle of Issus. Outnumbered more than 2-1, Alexander didn't flinch. He led a cavalry charge straight at Darius's position. The shock of the attack was so great that Darius, fearing for his life, fled the battlefield. His army collapsed. Alexander captured the Persian king's entire family, but treated them with honor and respect, winning admiration even from his enemies. Instead of chasing Darius, Alexander secured the Mediterranean coast. The island fortress of Tyre thought it was safe, but Alexander spent 7 months building a giant stone causeway to reach it. The message was clear: nothing could stop him. Egypt welcomed him as a liberator, crowning him pharaoh. There he founded the city of Alexandria, which would become a legendary center of learning for centuries to come. Finally, in 331 BCE, the ultimate showdown arrived, the Battle of Gaugamela. Darius had gathered an enormous army, maybe up to 250,000 men, with scythed chariots and war elephants, on a flat plain designed for his advantage. But Gaugamela was Alexander's masterpiece. He brilliantly maneuvered his forces, creating a gap in the Persian line. Then he led a decisive charge straight for Darius, and just like before, Darius fled. The Persian Empire, the greatest power on earth, was shattered. Alexander marched into Babylon as a celebrated conqueror. But his ambition was limitless. After Darius was assassinated by his own men, Alexander pushed further east, into the harsh lands of modern-day Afghanistan, marrying the Bactrian princess Roxana. He began to blend Greek and Persian cultures, creating a new, cosmopolitan vision for his empire. Then came India. In 326 BCE, he faced King Porus and his terrifying army of war elephants. It was one of his toughest battles, but Alexander's tactical genius won the day. Impressed by Porus's courage, Alexander treated him like a king, restoring his kingdom and making him a loyal ally. Alexander wanted to push on to the edge of the world, but his army, exhausted after 8 years of constant war, refused to go any further. It was the only battle he ever lost. Heartbroken, he finally agreed to turn back. The return journey through the brutal Gedrosian desert was a nightmare, costing many lives. Back in Babylon, Alexander began planning his next conquests: Arabia, Carthage, maybe even the lands to the west. But in June of 323 BCE, after a banquet, he fell gravely ill. His men filed past his bed for a final goodbye. When asked who should inherit his vast empire, he whispered, "To the strongest." At just 32 years old, Alexander the Great was dead. His empire fractured almost immediately as his generals fought over the spoils. Yet his legacy was immense. He had created the Hellenistic age, fusing Greek and Eastern cultures. The cities he founded thrived. Greek became the language of scholars, and his military tactics are still studied today. Julius Caesar and Napoleon both revered him. So, who was he? A visionary unifier? A brilliant general? A reckless megalomaniac? He was all of these things and more. In just 13 years, he never lost a battle, he conquered the known world, and he forever changed the course of history. He proved that one person's vision and unbreakable will can truly reshape the world. What do you think was Alexander's greatest achievement? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love epic history, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.